Hello, Kat and Susan here with Left Right USA. We are here to bring light and talk about the massive, widespread financial conflicts of interest, grifting, and misuse of our tax funds by Trump and the administration. Susan here has compiled quite the list of researched and validated factual instances and cases detailing the top ones. Go ahead, Susan. Let's start with the IRS.
Yep, we'll start with the most recent. So you've probably heard about the court case that President Trump brought against the IRS for $10 billion.
With a B.
Yep. Because 5 years ago, an IRS contractor released actually over 400,000 tax returns, and one of them happened to be President Trump's. But the court case was not viable.
Right.
And there were 4 very good reasons why. One, under the Federal Tort Claims Act and decades of Supreme Court precedent, the federal government is not liable for the wrongful acts of independent contractors, only for acts of its own employees.
Right.
Number 2, President Trump didn't sue the contractor or his company.
Which is weird because he was in the habit for years of suing contractors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then number 3, the statute of limitations. It's only 2 years. It's been 5.
Right. It's been 5. Okay.
And then the biggest reason, I think, number 4, is that federal courts can only hear genuine adversarial disputes between opposing parties, and they can't rule on friendly suits. Trump is the plaintiff. He appointed the attorney general defending the IRS. He controls the treasury that would write the check. And the judge recognized that. The judge asked President Trump's lawyers to show how there were 2 adversarial parties in this case. Right. And, the lawyers said, well, we're just going to drop the case. And then they came up with a supposed settlement. Although you
can't have a settlement if there's no 2 adversarial parties.
Yeah, and the judge said, I haven't been given any settlement paperwork. There's no legal settlement. So it's really just a deal.
Right.
It's a deal that set up a $1.76 billion anti-weaponization fund with your tax dollars.
Yep.
That the president can use to pay out to people he thinks were wronged by previous administrations.
Such as the J6ers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. But it's worse than that, because the next day, the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, signed an addendum, which included a release of claims. And that states that the president, his companies, his family members, nor his associates can be investigated, audited, or sued by any part of the government forever.
I heard about that. I didn't think that was real.
No, it's real. I looked up the paperwork myself and printed it all off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so wrong.
Yeah.
The president should not be able to get money out of the government by pressuring agencies that he controls.
No.
That makes me mad.
Yeah. It's really bad. Even the Republican Congress people are very upset about it.
I mean, I feel like I've been somewhat conditioned to not believe some things, that they're not real. And that's really what a lot of this propaganda over the last 2 years has really brought people to be very suspicious of everything that they hear and see, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But even that's supported with facts and evidence.
Yeah.
And I was starting to not believe it.
Nope.
That is crazy.
I looked up the legal filing myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So
what else? What kind of wealth has been accumulated by the Trump family?
Overall, yeah, we have to look at that. How much has President Trump and his family's wealth increased since he was reelected? His net worth is now about $6.5 billion.
With a B.
If digital assets were factored in, it could be as much as $9.7 billion.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Forbes said he's added at least $1.4 billion to his personal wealth over the past year alone. They also estimated $4.2 billion increase for the Trump family as a whole.
I mean, what does that look like as a number? 4,000,000,000,000,000,
I know,
right?
You have to think about that.
I mean, I don't even know how much money that is. I can't even.
I saw someone who was giving a good example. They're like, okay, a super yacht. It's about $500 million for a super yacht. So, if you're talking about 4 billion,
that's like 8
super yachts, right? So that's just in 1 year.
Oh,
in
gosh.
1 year, so it's a lot, and some estimates put it as high as 5 billion at this point. So,
and it's all out in the open.
Yeah.
It's not like they're even trying to hide it. Like, it's okay.
No.
We'll break the emoluments clause over and over and over again of the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. Now, his assets are in a trust controlled by his children, but, his children are just going to do what's going to benefit him and the family. So although there is no law requiring a U.S. president to move his assets into a blind trust, every recent U.S. president since the 1970s has done so until President Trump.
Right.
And then there's individual stock trading.
The stock trading, right. And doesn't law here in the United States, isn't there legislation that bans federal employees from holding financial assets that could be impacted by their policy work?
There is.
Okay.
But Congress members can still do it. And there's a carve out for the president.
So it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the U.S. public.
So those who pass the legislation give themselves the exception.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
Yes. And we've been arguing about this for a long time. I mean, the U.S. president would like to see individual stock trading banned for Congress members, but it should be banned for the president and his administration members as well. There should not be a carve out for the president, in my opinion. I don't care who's president. They shouldn't be being able to do that. There's too much danger that they could make policy decisions based on what would benefit them financially.
Right. And not decisions that are best for the average American.
Right. Exactly. So there was a recent report that was filed with the Federal Ethics Agency on President Trump's stock trading, and he had more than 3,600 buy and sell orders in the first quarter of this year.
Okay.
Many of the trades involved companies whose profits have been directly impacted by his decisions.
As the head of the government. Yeah.
The trades include as much as $6 million in NVIDIA, stocks of several U.S. military suppliers impacted by the Iran war. His portfolio includes shares in Apple and Boeing and Tesla. The CEOs of all of those companies accompanied him to China on his recent visit. It also includes Intel, which the government took a 10% stake in last year.
So then, like, some of those suppliers with the military are like Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, and Northrop Grumman.
Right, exactly. Okay. So they all benefit from the war. So a spokesperson for the Trump family business said the president's portfolio is handled by third parties that have sole and exclusive authority to make investment decisions. But ethics officials have pointed out just knowing what's in his portfolio could be a problem because it would have an impact on his decisions on everything from health policy to the government contracting to the war.
Right.
So it's just bad. It looks bad, and it could lead to bad outcomes. All recent U.S. presidents have dumped their stocks before assuming office, or put their money in broadly diversified funds, or set up a blind trust so they couldn't even know what they owned.
Okay.
George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, they all did that. Joe Biden didn't trade at all. So, it's not required by law, but it was custom. And so he's really just breaking custom, but he's also breaking our trust.
Right. But I mean, isn't
the
there
American people?
Isn't the emoluments clause? That's
about gifts, I think.
I thought that was.
I think that would apply to that plane from.
Well, I mean, I thought that was more about that. Anyone in a high office is not allowed to profit from their position. Isn't that what that's about?
I don't know, but I know there's.
It's more about gifting.
For the president.
More about gifts.
We're gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into that. Maybe do an emoluments clause follow up on this.
Addendum. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you start to look at the whole picture, it's kind of overwhelming. So I'm trying to break it down into sections. So we've talked about the most recent thing with the weaponization fund. We've talked about the him being released from any future investigation by any part of the federal government. We've talked about how much their net worth has increased.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about some other sections. Cryptocurrency.
Crypto, right.
Yeah, that's a big one. So it's not just stock trading that we have to be worried about anymore as the public gets crypto. That's a new form of currency, basically, and it's a new way that people can funnel money to someone without being in the public eye. You might not even know who sent it. The Trump family and members of the Witkoff family started World Liberty Financial Crypto Company in late 2024. And days before the inauguration, World Liberty Financial sold almost half of its company to a company run by a member of the UAE royal family for $500 million. And then
I wonder if that has something to do with like the Epstein circle.
I don't know.
Anyway.
A UAE government fund invested $2 billion worth of World Liberty stablecoin into Binance.
Right.
So that was kind of like pumping up the value and the stability of the new company.
Right.
Shortly after, the Trump administration allowed the UAE access to advanced US AI computer chips.
Right.
So, it looks like a quid pro quo. We can't prove it, but it sure looks like it.
Right.
And then Binance's founder, Changpeng Zhao, received a pardon for his conviction. He was allowing money laundering by multiple criminal rings on Binance. And so he had been convicted and all that, and he just got pardoned.
Just pardoned, yeah.
Pardoned. And offered a private dinner with Trump, a special tour of the White House. He bought what was it? World Liberty Financial sold meme coins too of President Trump.
Right.
People bought $320 million worth of them.
Right.
Anyone can buy them anonymously.
Right.
And he offered a special dinner with himself and a special tour of the White House for the top 220 holders of his meme coin.
Right. I remember that.
So yeah, and
I remember someone taking a photo of the dinner and how horribly
it was the
put
best
together
food.
It was. Yeah.
But a lot of people were hiding their faces. They didn't want to be seen. Justin Sun is a Chinese cryptocurrency billionaire. He was one who spent $75 million on World Liberty governance tokens in January of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
In February, a federal lawsuit against Justin Sun was paused.
Right.
Another quid pro quo looking thing.
Yeah.
In July, he bought $200 million worth of Trump meme coins publicly. And as of September 2025, he also claimed $200 million more at a token launch event and held nearly $1 billion worth of the token acquired at other times. And the federal lawsuit against him was settled in March of this year with a $10 million civil penalty and no admission of wrongdoing by Sun. So it just looks like
it's
a
just a slap on the
Give
wrist.
me lots of money and we'll make your lawsuit go away.
Right. Right.
It's just
it's buying
really
the president's favor.
It is. President Trump had another dinner for the now current top 220 holders of his meme coins in April of this year. So he's still trying to encourage people to buy more of his crypto. The Trump family started another cryptocurrency business, American Bitcoin, last September. Donald Jr. and Eric Trump had about $1 billion in wealth after that went public. And this was, of course, helped by President Trump's announcement of a new national Bitcoin reserve. And that caused the prices of cryptocurrency to soar. So obviously his decisions are impacting the wealth of the family, right?
Yeah.
And they intervened to halt or terminate federal investigations and enforcement actions involving multiple cryptocurrency firms that have donated to the president or invested in his companies. A whole bunch. So it's just that the fortunes of the president, his family, and the cryptocurrency market are heavily intertwined.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the crypto.
So how does this extend to his family and his sons and what they hold?
Yeah, because his kids are the ones that are in charge of all the family businesses, right? Yeah. So it kind of deals with foreign governments. It involves them going along on, foreign country visits,
right?
In companies that benefit from the government, etc. So the Trump organization made over 20 deals in foreign countries so far this term, involving real estate and cryptocurrency. So let's talk about a few of those countries. Qatar, Trump Golf Club and Villa, with a company owned by the Qatari government. They got, in return, a security guarantee from the United States and were allowed to buy large numbers of U.S. weapons.
Okay.
Vietnam, there's a Trump resort there. The Vietnamese government forced residents to vacate the land for the resort. Vietnam got reduced tariffs. 3, Saudi Arabia. There's a Trump Plaza resort on the Red Sea with a real estate developer close to the ruling family, additional resorts and residential projects in Jeddah and Riyadh. What did they get? The U.S. signed a U.S.-Saudi strategic defense agreement. Saudi Arabia was allowed to buy U.S. fighters and jets and tanks, and were granted deals for U.S. AI microchips and agreements on civil nuclear cooperation.
Wow.
The UAE, Trump Towers and the Members Only Club in Dubai, a $2 billion investment of Trump-owned company World Liberty stablecoin into Binance. What did the UAE get? They got access to advanced US AI computer chips, fast-tracked arms sales, and the US is considering offering the UAE a US Treasury currency swap line.
Wow.
You know, you can buy a lot with a few $1 billion here and there.
Yeah.
Then India. There's 8 Trump-branded projects in India. What did India get? A major interim trade agreement, which includes a reduction in tariffs, cancellation of an oil tariff that had been imposed for them purchasing Russian oil, and a waiver allowing them to purchase Russian oil.
Okay.
So Trump's sons bought stakes worth millions in PowerUs, an armed drone-making company that's seeking contracts with the U.S. military and with Gulf states that are under attack by Iran. Other government contractors in which one or both have gotten ownership stakes this past year include a rocket motor maker, an AI chip supplier, a data analytics company, a drone maker, Unusual Machines, Dominari Securities, which is heavily backed drone ventures. New America Acquisition Corp is a new investment firm that brought them on as advisors. And they said in a regulatory filing that they would target companies seeking federal grants, tax credits, and government contracts. So it's like, I don't know, just Donald Trump's oldest son opened a private club called the Executive Branch last year in Washington that's charging initiation fees as high as $500,000 for founding members and offers proximity to Trump administration members.
Wow.
So there's just so many ways that the family members are intertwined again with the government, with getting money out of the government. So many ways. Yeah. And we have to think about, is that what we want?
No.
As a public, do we want to worry that our elected officials are going to be profiting and making decisions based on their own profits, not on what's best for us?
Right.
We don't want that.
A lot of this money is taxpayer money that they're stealing from other programs that Congress has already allocated the money to go to. I mean,
yeah, it's true. That's another question. But yeah,
right.
Exactly. So okay, that's the family money and the family involvement. Then there's soliciting donations. President Trump's been doing that in a big way.
Yeah, like the ballroom.
Yep.
That's now going to possibly be paid for by our tax dollars.
Yeah.
And where did the donations go that he solicited?
Well, he wants to use all of it, I guess, the donations plus $1 billion of our dollars. Yeah, for that. And then the related security, underground bunker, whatever. So yeah, the Triumphal Arch, the White House Easter egg event, the Trump Presidential Library, super PACs associated with President Trump. You know, there's just so many ways that he's soliciting people, companies to give him money, rich people to give him money, and they are. They're given lots of money.
Yeah.
For example, MAGA Inc. Super PAC reported raising $9.6 million last month alone. That's just one super PAC. And there was another really obvious example in my mind. So Reynolds American is a tobacco company.
Mm-hmm.
They donated $5 million to Trump's super PAC on April 30th, adding to an earlier $10 million donation to another Trump super PAC and donations to the White House Ballroom Fund. A few days later, a Reynolds executive, 2 lobbyists, and an Altria, another tobacco company rep, had lunch with President Trump at his Jupiter Golf Club. And during the lunch meeting, they complained about the FDA rules around tobacco. And President Trump, in the middle of the lunch, called the FDA commissioner and RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz, who are in charge of right area. So 8 days after that, the FDA issued new guidance that will allow U.S. tobacco companies to sell flavored vapes. So 4 days later, the head of the FDA resigned, saying he could not support the policy. So even, you know, I find that...
What is the thing about flavored vapes?
Well,
it targets kids, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're sweet flavors.
Right, which is why they
and
were
I have a
saying
middle
no.
son that I have basically lost as an estranged son due to him having vaped in high school.
Yeah.
And I was completely against it. And this kind of stuff just enrages me because I don't have contact with one of my sons because of vaping.
Yeah, it's sad. I have to give kudos to the FDA head because he resigned over it. He's like, no, this is not okay, you know? And just it's so annoying. It's like 8 days difference, the millions of dollars, and then they get the policy they want.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
It is.
And then there's the pardons.
Pardons. Oh,
Yeah. So President Trump has been pardoning people at 8 times the rate that President Biden did. And his pardons have forgiven criminal debts of more than $1.5 billion at this point.
right. And weren't those dollars owed to the victims of those crimes?
Yeah, they were owed to the crime victims and to the government.
Right.
Right, exactly. So President Trump has made many questionable pardons.
Yeah.
He has given the first presidential pardon of a company, HCR Global Trading. No one's ever pardoned a company before.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
The former Honduran president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted for 45 years for state-sponsored drug trafficking. Crypto billionaire Changpeng Zhao. There's just so many. He's also pardoned some people that were convicted during this term by his own Department of Justice, and then he turned around and pardoned them. That would make me sort of discouraged if I was a prosecutor in his Department of Justice and managed to get this conviction, and then the president turns around and pardons him within a month or something. And many of the pardons have not gone through the ordinary vetting process that's supposed to go through the office of the pardon attorney, and many of them have gone through outside methods. So it's just to me, I think it's fine, I think, to have a presidential pardoning process, but I want there to be some rationale behind it. Not just, oh, well, what can I get out of it? What will they pay me?
Yeah, what have they paid me?
Because so many of them are connected
in exchange
with
for a pardon.
Donations or, some way that they can benefit. So that's so frustrating to me as an American person who wants to see justice, And I don't feel like there is justice for people with less money, but there is justice for the rich.
Right.
Who can get their money in their ear before the president. And I don't think that's okay. That's not the kind of justice that I want.
Right.
In our country.
Right.
And then just lots and lots of smaller examples.
Yeah.
Remember the law firms.
Yeah.
I tried to pressure them into giving $1 billion in free legal work.
Yep.
By taking away their security clearances and barring access to federal buildings. But that was later ruled to be illegal, but they still did it.
Right.
And then, even just with the Freedom 250 and the recent event, the religious revival event, if you donate $1 million, then you get to come to the special event with President Trump. Just that. And, selling Venezuela's oil. And stashing the proceeds in an account in Qatar. What the heck was that about? Like, that's not supposed to happen. If for some way you could justify taking control of Venezuela's oil and selling it, why wouldn't you put that in a U.S. account? Where the Treasury would have control of it, not some outside account in Qatar. That's just not good. That plane from Qatar, the $400 million plane, accepting $40 million for the First Lady Melania's documentary from Jeff Bezos.
Right.
That's way above the market rate.
Yeah.
40 million.
Crazy.
The placement of so many officials who have a conflict of interest. So many of them are being placed in government agencies when they have companies that would be regulated by those agencies or who have other conflicts of interest.
Right.
There's so many. I was looking at the list and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And all of that substantiated with facts and evidence.
Yep, we got the sources. Illegally selling Trump merchandise on a military base during a speech he gave. Settlements from suing media companies, many of which sought merger approval from the federal government. That's like $90.5 million so far.
Right.
Even Paramount, they agreed to pay $16 million to President Trump's presidential library fund.
Right.
And then nobody really knows what happened to it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That Tesla commercial that he did
on the White House lawn. Right. Oh, that was so tacky.
Everything computer.
Oh my God.
Anyway. That he's allowed tariff exemptions for certain companies who donated, like Apple.
Yeah.
Hosted dinners for big pharma companies who donated millions. just so many examples. It's an overall picture, and I don't think that's something that we want.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And there's so much of the independent media out there. We're just railing against a lot of this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It just makes me so mad.
Yeah, exactly. So if we have some quotes. This was from an article published in the American Bar Association saying none of this is normal, and viewed as a whole, it presents a clear threat to American democracy. And then our next one's from Richard Painter, the chief White House ethics advisor in the George W. Bush administration. He said, if he were defense secretary, he would be committing a crime. Technically, he can do this, but it is a fundamental breach of trust. He's a big critic of congressional stock trading as well. Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was interesting what President Trump said about it. In January, he was doing an interview with the New York Times, and was talking about how during his first term, his family had restrained its international business activity. And he said, got nothing but criticism. He said, I prohibited them from doing business in my first term, and I got absolutely no credit for it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have to do that, and it's really unfair to them. I found out that nobody cared, and I'm allowed to.
Oh, wow.
So he just decided to go for it. But, is this what we want? We really have to think about this. Even if you appreciate President Trump or you like what he's trying to do, is this the type of conflict of interest that you want in your elected leader? You have to think about that. So what can we do about it?
Right. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reform ideas in the works right now.
Yeah. And
you've gone through some very specific things that we can do about it.
Right. Exactly. Now, you talked to me earlier about there's more than one proposed bill that would stop individual stock trading by congressional members. Right. But we were just saying, why should there be a carve out for the president?
Right.
Or administration members, for that matter.
Right.
They get that information that could be used for insider stock trading too. So let's ban it all. Let's ban it all. So pass one of those bills and include the president. The other thing, Congress should enact legislation that requires presidents to divest from personal financial interests or put their assets into a blind trust as soon as they assume office. It just makes sense. It's not, they can still keep making money, but they don't have to influence, it doesn't have to influence their decisions possibly.
Right.
Number 2, Congress should also adopt robust transparency requirements and contribution limits for presidential inauguration funds and library funds.
Right.
That's one of the 2 big unregulated vehicles that we've been using to collect large amounts of money.
Right.
3, Congress should also pass campaign finance reform legislation. We would love that, right?
Right. Yes.
And all of us would love that. That either curtails coordination between candidates' campaigns and outside groups like super PACs. But I think I like my husband's idea. I think we should pass a law where there's no donating to any candidate you aren't eligible to vote for. I mean, that would take care of a lot of problems, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're not eligible to donate, to vote for them, you shouldn't be able to donate. It would take care of corporate donations because corporations can't vote.
Yeah.
It would take care of out of state, and you would have to say no proxy donating. But it's simple, and it would take care of a lot of problems in my mind.
Right.
Anyway, I like that idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I know, right?
Then they were talking about we need structural reforms for the Federal Election Commission. We need to have it go back to its kind of original mission of protecting voters by enforcing federal campaign finance laws. And then, of course, there's the Citizens United Supreme Court decision, which I think was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Because it just made it so that corporations had just as much right to donate money to political campaigns as people did. And I don't think that's right. Because one thing I think every single ordinary person agrees on, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, is that we don't want big money in politics.
Right.
And there's too much big money in politics.
And there is, yes.
So I know there's some states working on trying to stop corporate donations on the state level,
Mhm.
which is great. Hawaii just passed a law about that. Montana's working on one. Several
Okay.
other states are working on.
Good.
So
good to see
even
that.
if we can't get Citizens United repealed anytime soon, maybe we can work on it on the state level, which would be great.
Yeah. So what do you think about these massive conflicts of interest? Drop a comment below.
Hit like and subscribe to help us get the word out.
Is there a topic you would like us to cover? Contact us and let us know.
And check out our Substack to get detailed write-ups. Find our Facebook and our Blue Sky to help keep up to date with the latest news we post frequently throughout the day.
And welcome to the conversation.